We're live.
Hello.
All right. Hello. Hopefully you can hear us all
Hello.
fine. We're Eclipse Sounds. We're a company, you should all know this by now, but we're a company focused on English vocal synthesis development. My name's Taylor. I use she, her pronouns, but I also go by Celestri in vocal synth community spaces. I'm the development and outreach lead for Eclipse Sounds. What that actually means is that I make Synthesizer V plugins and I run the social media accounts. I also did the logos and videos for our company and the project.
Hi, I'm Neve, also known as Neve Spoba. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the lead designer for the Solaris project and for Eclipse Sounds. I kind of help to guide the design process for Solaris and help to create the final turnarounds and concepts that we give to Superstellar.
Hello, I'm Elijah. You can call me Eli, and I'm also Kana D online. I am the founder and CEO of Eclipse Sounds. I have been in charge of all the music related media, for example, the tuning demonstrations, and also usually do business filings and such.
I'm Irina, the product head for Eclipse Sounds. My role is mainly ensuring that the project goes smoothly. I do a lot of quality assurance and finalization work.
We've been working on this project for 2.5 years on our own, and we're really happy and we're grateful for the support so far.
As far as how the stream is going to work, we gathered questions from across our social media accounts to answer during the live stream, but feel free to ask questions in the chat by mentioning Eclipse Sounds, and Neve will collect them to make sure that we answer everything. If you arrive late, we'll answer questions as many times as they're asked, so just feel free, if you want to ask what Solaris' name is over and over, we'll just keep answering it. So basically, obviously, most of you know this, but to catch everybody else up to speed, Solaris is going to be an AI vocalist for Synthesizer V. Synthesizer V is a vocal synthesis program, which basically means you put in words and notes, and it basically sings a little song for you. It's a digital singer. Solaris would be the first native AI vocalist for Synthesizer V, and that's really cool because AI gives you like the most realism that you possibly can get, which is basically the goal for our project, is like a very realistic, high quality vocalist. Our voice provider for the Solaris project is Emma Rowley, excuse me. Emma Rowley is a very accomplished singer. She performed on Broadway. She's a pop recording artist, and we really are excited to work with her for this project. And our artist for the project is Superstellar. Superstellar has been working in the vocal synthesis community, making art of vocal synthesis characters for upwards of 10 years now, and their art was just perfect for this project, so we're really happy to work with them as well. Our goals for Solaris are basically, as I already stated, to make an extremely high quality AI vocalist for Synthesizer V, and we hope that you're all excited about that as well. Sorry to keep going on so much. This is all just intro stuff before we get into the questions. As far as announcements go, we have a little bit of a timeline of next events. So we'll be revealing the last guest artist reward at the end of the stream. And we'll be releasing a pre-recorded interview with her voice provider, Emma Rowley, on May 29th, and the next Q&A stream, and we'll be releasing the physical box design on June 5th. We'll be posting quite a few promotions over the course of the campaign, so you should also follow us on social media if you don't already. With that being said, let's get into the questions. I think, Iduna, you're starting us off?
Yes. With the question, why do the tiers cost what they do? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So we've gotten this question a lot. We're running a crowdfunding campaign, so it's a little bit different from just selling a product. To use Suina-chan's crowdfund as an example, the lowest tier that included her voice bank costed $300. The extra cost in each tier will help make Solaris a reality.
Yeah, so like you would compare that to how we've made her digital voice bank 125. So technically there's a little bit of extra cost there, but the idea is that if you really believe in this project, and you really want Solaris to like exist, you'll go a little bit more, because like there will be no product at the end without contributing to the campaign now. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. Another question we got from Oniric on Twitter. I'm just going to read the question. I'm curious, what does the flexible funding text on the Indiegogo page mean? Will you still make her if you don't quite hit the goal? So what flexible funding means is that, and this is covered in the crowdfund document if you scroll down to the incomplete funding section. But what this means is basically that if we don't hit the goal, we will get the money. Now, we've covered in the crowdfunding campaign that this just means for us is that we're going to try and make up the money in other ways. So like the other ways that we could do if it's not funded is we could get a small business loan, we could fund it out of pocket. But either way, if we don't come up with that money, as stated in the crowdfund campaign, we'll be returning the money within 6 months from the end of the crowdfund. So like, and the Indiegogo makes it really easy to return back our rewards. So basically is we're going to do everything in our power to get Solaris funded. If we can't, if we don't make the goal and then we can't make up the money afterwards, all the money goes back to all the supporters. So there's no running away with the money. It's all going back to the supporters if we can't manage to make her funded. Basically, the idea is like if we come within $1,000 of the goal, we'll all pitch in and make our own money, part of the pool to get her funded. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that. We have seen a little bit of worry over that, and it's all answered on the crowdfund page and just what I told you here.
Our next question that we had was, oh, you're good. Our next question was from Bogus here on Twitter. It says, the crowdfunding page mentions alternate designs for Solaires. Can you give us an idea of what they could be, such as perhaps a casual wear design for fan artists? And currently we have some plans for post-crowdfund that includes like alternate designs and stuff, but all of that is going to be announced after the crowdfund ends, like end of June-ish. But kind of in like the same vein of that question, part of our stretch goal, our first stretch goal, is that we want to get like a full turnaround reference art by Superstellar and get like an official reference art made, so that everyone can kind of have a little bit of an easier way to draw her. So that's kind of what the plan is for any sort of like alternate design for you guys.
All right, do we have any questions from the chat?
Yes, we do. Let's see. Sorry, let me scroll up. I didn't copy the username. Well, the one that I definitely saw is Vocozone asks, what was the main inspiration for Solaris' design? I take heavy realm design, but I'm curious if she's supposed to be a goddess, a demigod, etc. Solaris' design was kind of themed off of like a very general like goddess theme. We definitely wanted to have like a lot of gold because she's a sun goddess. Like that's kind of just like goddess plus the sun was kind of like her whole deal. So basically like incorporating as many like kind of sun motifs into her design, making her look very powerful, very goddess-like was kind of our goal. So I guess like having the gold, like having like the pauldron and having like the bracers can definitely be seen as like Roman influence, but we didn't go, we want like Solaris to look like she's a Roman goddess or anything like that. But yeah, her, I guess is like a overarching answer, she's meant to be like a sun goddess, so definitely a goddess. Thank you, Bokozan, for the question. And Edward asks, will you consider a standard voice bank if you're unable to fund the AI voice bank if it's cheaper?
All right, I'll take this question. So basically, we can't go into a lot of specifics, but that's really not the case. So it's not the case that one is cheaper than the other. So basically, we'll be pursuing an AI voice bank first, and if the idea of a standard would be we might do a standard as a stretch goal, but we don't intend to switch to standard in the event of incomplete funding. Because honestly, this is part of how standard voice banks work, is that you ideally have your voicer like fly to Japan and record at the Dreamtonic studio, which would technically make it more expensive. So in the end, we're going all in on AI.
Just a
Thank you
couple
so
more.
much for your question.
Do you want me to grab some more questions from the chat list right now, or do you want to go through some of the pre-planned questions?
Yeah, I'll go through some of the
Yeah, grab a couple
questions
of those
in our
and then I'll-
document. So right now we're sort of talking about software questions, so that's what we have in the doc right now. So one of these questions is regarding the test voice bank. So Oniric on Twitter asks, will there be any other full demo songs out, or is the test voice bank really only capable of singing Miles? So the test voice bank is very specific for Miles, so a lot of phonetic samples don't exist. It's really made primarily for the demo song that you've already heard. So we won't be producing any more full demo songs with this test voice bank. However, we will post like short samples. As you've already seen, we've posted some, well, we posted one so far on TikTok that shows Solaris and a comparison with her voicer to sort of give you an idea of what her final voice bank could sound like as an AI vocalist. But right now, no, we probably won't have any more full demo songs until we have Solaris' AI voice bank after she's made. So thank you so much for that question. And I'll answer the next one real quick, and then we can look for more in the chat. Vocasphere asked us on Twitter, do you already know what kind of features Gen 3 Synthesizer VAI will bring to the table, and how Solaris will be able to utilize them? So right now, all we know about Gen 3 Synthesizer VAI is that it's just going to process better and therefore be more realistic. So basically, the samples that have already been unveiled with Saki, that's as much as we know as well. But we're very optimistic about it and very excited for what the future holds for Synth V. That's also part of why we're really aiming to do an AI vocal, is because the Synth V AI engine just keeps improving more and more. Like 6 months ago, there wasn't even public knowledge of Synth V AI. At least I think it was 6 months ago. And it's already so good, and it's already on its 3rd generation. So I think we can all be very excited about that, and we're very optimistic on how that'll go.
Yeah.
Ready for a chat question?
Yeah, let's do another chat question.
Alright, Danian asks, are you looking to show off particular parts of her voice in future demos, and in that case, do you have a certain set of genres that you're looking for?
I'll take this one again. Right now, it's really going to depend on how her final, how her final AI voice bank turns out. But our hope with the demos is to showcase a wide variety of genres, because one of our goals with Solaris is to have a versatile vocal, like one that can take on a bunch of different genres. So like she can be quiet and melancholy, but she can also be high energy and do very fast songs. So we're hoping to get a lot of different genres. Of course, we'll be restricted by the funding that we end up with at the end of the crowdfund. But our main hope is to have a lot of different examples. So thank you so much for your question.
Cool. Another chat question is from the Albani. How many pitches does she plan to have?
I can take this one. I believe a user in the chat, I'm sorry I didn't catch her username, did explain this already. The AI voice banks for Synth V do not have recorded pitches. It's entirely based on the song data that is used for training.
Yeah, so the idea is like we're training an AI algorithm to replicate the voice. So rather than recording pitches, like monotone pitches like you would for UTAU or for a standard voice bank, you'll be recording, our voicer will be recording like full vocal tracks, and that sort of teaches the AI her singing style as well. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Albani. Do you want me to do one more, or do you want to go back to the prepared questions?
Yeah, let's do one more chat question.
And then Lilula, I'm so sorry. Leela Lulaberry says, Does that mean minimal tuning for the AI or just realistic bass vocals? How does that work? Haha.
I
I'll
can
take
take
this.
this. Oh,
Okay, yeah,
can
you
this
go
one.
ahead.
Oh, okay. So basically, there's a difference in the way that voice banks are recorded. A standard voice bank plays back samples, whereas AI will analyze and recreate samples of the voicer singing. So they have a more realistic result, and in the case of Synth V, there is an auto pitch tuning feature. I believe that may be locked to Synth Studio Pro, in which the program will automatically generate tuning for you that is based on the way the voicer sings.
Yeah, so basically, like, Synthesizer V is really unique in this way that it does create sort of realistic bass vocals, but you have a lot of control. So it's like you could use minimal tuning. This is especially the case in Synthesizer V Pro. In Synthesizer V Pro, you can auto-generate tuning based on based on the AI data. But this is not a feature in Synthesizer V Standard, which is the free version of the editor.
Basic.
So it really
Studio
just
Basic.
depends on what kind of editor you have.
Cool.
All right, let's go back to the pre-written questions. Of course, we'll get all the chat. We'll loop back around to the chat questions throughout.
I believe
I
this
think-
next question actually segments off very well. Do I have to buy Synthesizer V to use Solaris? Synth V has a free editor available called Synth V Studio Basic, which works with commercial voice banks. It is not a trial and you can use it forever, but there are less features when compared to Studio Pro, notably the automatic pitch tuning that AI voice banks have.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Jade Kaiba on Twitter asks, will a standard bank be released as well as AI, or is it just AI that's planned? I think we went over this very briefly earlier, but right now we're only planning on doing a AI voice bank, but we could conceivably, if there was a lot of demand, we could add it as a stretch goal, but right now we're just aiming on making an AI voice bank for the main library.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out really quick that we actually just went over 14,000 and hit 35% of our goal.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, everyone.
Just kind of blew my mind a little bit. Thank you.
So the next question we have written here are, how many songs are required to make a high-quality AI database for English? I do believe Tart also mentioned that it took 5 songs for Saki. I don't know if we can disclose exactly how many songs are needed, but I'd like to clarify that the 5 songs for Saki was just a proof of concept, and a full AI voice bank will use much more data than just 5 songs.
Yeah, and also especially in English, we'll use more samples than a Japanese library will, because English is a little more complicated phonetically. We'll need more songs to faithfully recreate the voice. I'll take this next question, which is, will Solaris have a free version after the product is released? Right now, we don't have any plans to release Solaris Lite or a Solaris free version. Right now, we have really big, we have a lot of plans for Solaris and a lot of plans for our company as a whole. And we're a tiny company. Everybody in the call right now is everybody that's at Eclipse Sounds. So it's very important to us that we be able to use the proceeds from Solaris's full sales towards future projects. So no, right now there's no plans to release a Solaris Lite. I'll also answer the next one, just why not? So Jade Kaiba on Twitter asked, can you give us any details on the license to use Solaris's voice bank for commercial use? Yes, we can give you all of the information on that, you'll be able to use Solaris commercially as much as you want. Our idea is that we want an AI singer that's just very free, so like very free to use. So there's not a lot of usage rules for Solaris. You don't have to give us money when you sell a song with Solaris. All you have to do is buy Solaris, and then you get a license to use her however you want, forever, basically. There is a stipulation regarding usage of the Solaris character. So if you use Solaris's character, that's completely free and fine up until you'll make, unless you make more than $1,000 of profit. So basically, you can use her character as much as you want as well. But if you make more than $1,000 of profit, you should probably come to us and we'll talk about it. But yeah, Solaris, totally free for commercial use. That's very important for our vision of the project.
Want me to throw in some chat questions?
Yeah, let's throw in a couple chat questions.
Cool. Alex Teal asks, are you planning on giving Solaris a male counterpart one day in the future? Like Tonio has Prima and Sweet N has Big Al, smiley face.
I'll take this question. So we can't answer this completely because it all depends on how well Solaris does, right? So like we would love to. We love Synthesizer V. We love English vocals for Synthesizer V. That would be amazing if we could do that. Right now, we just need to make sure that won't be possible unless Solaris does well. So our future plans are to expand, and this is on our on the crowdfund and on our company website. Like our company plan on the whole is to expand English vocal synthesis, and we would love to make another one, but it really depends on how well Solaris does. So we'll see.
The
I
best,
can't confirm anything else.
Yeah, the best way to make sure, if you want another vocal, the best way to make sure that happens is to fund Solaris.
Yeah, another English vocal for sure. At least from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to go to the
another
next
chat question?
Yes,
Sorry.
we have I have quite a few. So I can keep running through them. Delphi P asks, can you explain the journey to make Solaris so far? Like, how does one make a vocal synth?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we can't talk a lot about this because, you know, we're under a lot of non-disclosure agreements because we have a lot of secret information, I guess, confidential information regarding the process for Synthesizer V. But it really just took a lot of hard work. Like, as we talked about at the beginning of the stream, we spent 2.5 years on this entire project. Like, we've been working quietly. We didn't tell anybody. We kept the non-disclosure agreement very secure, and we're continuing to do so right now. So we can't tell you anything that's included in that non-disclosure agreement. But we're really working really hard. Like, it's all about working really hard and like staying committed to the project. There's a lot more work behind the scenes than you realize goes into this. And so that's basically the process, is just really stay committed and really have a very solid plan for the project.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your question.
Cool. And then I think that I'll do maybe 1 or 2 more short ones, and then we can go back. From Robins P asks, do you guys have plans for a moon goddess? Smiley face.
Again,
we
can't talk about
answer
future
this.
projects at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fund Solaris, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And then Izzy Vitelli asks, I'm curious if there's any potential plans for after Solaris' release, be it she does well. Kind of vague overall question.
We actually have sort of a section of pre-written questions about this, so we'll get back to you on that. That's sort of the last thing that we're covering during the stream. But thank you so much for your question.
Since that was a very straightforward answer, Cool Kiwi asks, will Solaris have an official MMD model?
Right now, we don't have it in the budget because we are a very small company. and we do not have very much money, and it all depends on the crowdfund. So unfortunately, a lot of our answers are going to be, we don't have a lot of money, so we can't do that yet. But that's something we've really looked into and would really be open to doing if we had the funds.
Yeah.
I assume we're jumping back into the pre-written questions now.
Yeah,
This
let's
next
go
one
ahead.
is for me. Will Solaris come with X voice samples? The short answer is yes, she will. And the crowdfund even has an add-on perk you can buy where you get a custom line recorded by Emma Rowley within reason.
Just for clarification, X voice just means like spoken word samples, so they're just extra samples like Solaire saying like yes, so then you can put that in your song and save a little bit of time, so you don't have to make the voice bank say that. Yeah. Sorry to jump in like that. Do we want to just keep going with the pre-written questions and then come back to more?
Yeah, I think that would
after
that would
this
probably
section?
be adequate.
Okay. The next one, we are moving on to about the artists and those involved in the Solaris project that were not part of Eclipse Sounds. Arietta on Twitter asks, how did Eclipse Sounds decide who was going to voice Solaris? What were the qualifications? And were there other singers we reached out to? So, I actually met our voice provider in person when I was helping out at a local studio before Solaris even had a name or a concept. And so a lot of things fell into place because she was interested right from the start. She had performed on Broadway and was already an established singer-songwriter, so she seemed like the perfect choice.
Neve, I think you were going to answer the next pre-written question. I'll read it out for you real quick.
Sorry,
how does Emma feel about putting her voice onto a synth? And assuming from the demo with like no editing, so it's going to sound basically just like her in the end.
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity to interview Emma, which will be posted on May 29th, I believe we said. And so this is kind of like one of the questions that we addressed in that interview, but we talked about how she felt putting her voice pretty much directly into an AI synth being very realistic, and she is 100% okay with it. She's totally excited. Like, her excitement was literally palpable. She is just so excited about the whole concept of vocal synths, and she even expressed interest like using Solaris to do it herself. She kind of just is like so enthralled by the idea of vocal synth that she just wants everyone to know about it and wants to use it as much as possible, and doesn't really mind that it's so similar to herself, and she hopes other people uses it as well.
Yeah, she really has, if we could just talk about that for a second, she really has a good idea of like the possibilities for vocal synth. Especially because I know we've seen a lot of singers in the past like express hesitancy, especially like English language singers express hesitancy with the idea of vocal synthesis. So we got really lucky, and we've really just ended up with the perfect voicer.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and answer the next question that we have here, which is basically a very simple one. Why did we pick Superstellar to be the artist? We actually ended up creating Solaris' concept first. Our actual company name, Eclipse Sounds, actually predates the Solaris project by a couple years. So essentially, we took a look at the company name and worked backwards from there. So we were like, okay, an eclipse. What's the biggest part of an eclipse? You can look at the sun. Okay, so sun theme. And then we sort of worked backwards from there. And we wanted a very powerful and versatile design. And so we ended up with Solaris. That's a little bit more about the Solaris concept. But and so we ended up with Solaris, and then we looked around at a lot of artists. And then as soon as we saw Superstellar's art, we knew that was it. Superstellar's work is just very vibrant and powerful in a lot of ways, while retaining a lot of character in it. And we just knew, like,
Yeah.
That's basically how it worked. Is we were on Twitter, I think, and we saw someone retweeted one of Superstellar's paintings, and we just knew. We immediately sent it in our little group chat for Eclipse Sounds, and we were like, this is the artist. We have to work with them. So that's basically the story of that.
Yeah, and like two quick questions that I think kind of are on the same kind of topic. Alex Teal asks, will Emma join the Q&A live stream one day?
Right now there's no plans to do it. It's a little hard, given that she's just a very busy person with a
Yeah.
lot of obligations. But it would be really cool. And we could be open to trying to get her on. But for now, we just have a pre-recorded interview that we'll be posting, I think, just after next week, or just at the end of next week. So you'll hear from Emma then. It might not be live, but I think that'll be at least a little bit of your curiosity there.
And then another one from Looney. They ask, I know Emma Rowley, excuse me, I keep doing this, is a very talented belter. Will that translate into Synth?
We hope so. So it all depends on what kinds of samples that we use to train the AI. And right now, we're really sort of aiming for it. So we want Solaires to have a powerful high range because it's a lot easier in Synth V to make a strong vocal quieter than it is to make a quiet vocal stronger. So our aim is to have her have a strong high range, and then you can water her down if you need to when you use her, rather than the other way around, and have someone who needs a strong high vocal sort of left out in the cold, as it were. So we hope so. Right now, it's too early to tell, though. But that's our goal.
Yeah.
All right, I think, do we want to take some more from the chat real quick?
Yes, we have plenty from the chat. Let's see.
Oh, also, if you're in the chat and we accidentally skipped over your question, the chat's going by pretty fast. So if you just want to ask it again and again until it's answered, totally feel free.
Yeah.
Let's see. Carl T asks, what got each of you interested in doing synth voices? I'm assuming that just means vocal synth.
Oh man, I feel like that's a long story for all of us.
Yeah.
Maybe we all just condense it to like a sentence.
Yeah.
I guess on my half, this has just been a lifelong dream. I've always wanted to work on a project like this because vocal synth has been my primary interest for around the past 10 years, so this was all something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I think all of us have been in the community for at least 10 years. We're all old users. Usually I guess this is the same way, is this has been a dream, sort of, to bring the community more vocals.
Yeah, that's basically the same on my behalf. Like, I've been here for 10 to 12 years. I can't even remember now. But vocal synth has been sort of like my big passion, and I've always been really passionate about vocal synthesis, and especially English vocal synthesis on the whole. As like a funny story, like writing an essay about vocal synthesis was part of my college admissions. So like I've been in this for a long time, and yeah, this is basically like everything I know about vocal synthesis and everything that we know about vocal synthesis has really led into this project.
Let's see. I'm gonna grab another question because it
Wait,
seems
Neve,
like
how did you get into vocal synthesis?
Sorry. I'm glued to the chat right now. No, I've also, yeah, like kind of what everyone else has been saying. I've been in the community for about 10 years. I've gone by a couple different names, but I kind of wanted to like be a little closer to like my own name for the current era of my life, I suppose. But I really was never like a Vocaloid person. growing up and like going through like being in this community, I was very hardcore, like an UTAU user only. So this is totally surreal for me to like be working on a synth V, because it's like I only started using Vocally like 2 years ago. So this is kind of really cool. I really like haven't done a ton until recently in the last couple of years. I've kind of just have been an ambient member of the community, so this is also kind of like a dream of mine to help out with this and be able to kind of like design something for the community and like help put this project out for the community.
Yeah, honestly, our whole company is just focused on trying to meet, especially the English vocal synthesis community, but like the vocal synthesis community as a whole, meet the needs of the community. Yeah, that's basically like our company isn't about Solaris. It's not about any of the four of us. It's about meeting what the community wants as far as a vocal is concerned. And so we did a lot of market research for Solaris. This is, I guess, part of going back to that question about what did we do to make Solaris, but we did a lot of market research. We did a lot of like listening around, because we've been here for 2.5 years, so we just wanted to make sure that we did everything that it seemed like everybody was asking for. Do we want to go into our little, I mean, it's not an intermission, but like what's written as in the document as a little intermission?
I suppose we...
Okay, cool. So actually, let's take some more questions from the chat first before we go into
so let's see. Cabezo asks, are you planning on doing any events like Krypton does with Miko Expo, possibly IRL?
Ooh, that's very expensive. So right now, no. It's something that we could see in the future for Eclipse Sounds. Definitely something that we've talked about, just because this would all be funded out of our own pockets, so it wouldn't be something we need to use company money for. But we were thinking about we could do panels at conventions in the United States, because traveling overseas for the four of us would be probably a bit expensive. But we could do something at that scale. We could look into it in the future, but it would all, again, depend on how well Solaris does post-release.
Solaris Expo.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Let's see. Edward asks, if the Indiegogo doesn't reach its goal, do you have a limit on how much you'd be able to reach yourselves? I imagine raising $1,000 wouldn't be so difficult, but $20,000 not so much.
That all goes back to all the different places we might look for funding if we don't get funded. If it's very clear we will not be able to raise the money, I think we were going to refund it immediately. Again, there is a 6-month buffer where if we can't come up with the funds in that time, everything will be returned.
Yeah, but if we only, like, so if we stayed at 14,000, so exactly where we are, and we don't raise a cent more, we would not be able to fund Solaris. We would return all the money immediately. That's just sort of the idea. We're sort of, right now, since we're a week in now, we're doing a lot of research on small business loans right now, just to be sure, because we want to make sure that we can get this project done for the people who are very excited about it regardless. So right now, right now, our plan is still to see how the funding goes, but yeah, we're looking at other avenues right now. It would really depend. A lot's up in the air right now, but we have a lot more promotions and a lot more to reveal, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike E asks, question about the Solaris box. Will she have a box outside of the crowdfunding, or is that specific to only the crowdfunding campaign?
She will not have a box outside of the crowdfunding. We do not have the infrastructure or the funds to keep a box long term. So the Solaris box will be exclusive to this box will definitely be exclusive to this crowdfund. A Solaris box in general will probably be exclusive to the crowdfund overall. So there will probably be no Solaris box after the crowdfund or outside of the crowdfund in any way. So this would probably just be the only way to get it. If you're a collector, this is the way. We're sorry, we would like to do a box long term. It just doesn't work with our company plan overall. So yeah, it's exclusive to the crowdfund. Another question I saw from Dahlia Daughtry, I think. If fans made 3D models, would you want us to @ you, same as we do with 2D fan art? Yes, so you can @ us, you can just use the synthv_Solaires hashtag, which is what we've been using on social media. We've been trying to keep up with fan art that doesn't use those tags, but so far, that would be the best way. But we'll reblog or retweet, depending on the social media. And thank you so much for wanting to do fan art. That's amazing.
Literally, I love every single person who does fan art. It is so incredible to see how many
It's
different
been so
interpretations that people have done.
We look at all of it.
We look at every single piece of fan art.
That's been honestly probably one of the most surreal parts of this project, because we've all known about Solaris for 2.5 years, and the only art that we've seen of Solaris before, I guess May 10th. So, because we did see some fan art of her silhouette, which was amazing. But before that, all we had seen was the art that the 4 of us did of Solaris, and the art that Superstellar did, and the art that the guest artist, reward artist, did. So all of the art for Solaris before that was art that we paid people for, or that we did ourselves. And so it's absolutely crazy to see that. I'll grab another question from the chat real quick. Alex Teal asks, does Solaris have an official personality? Is her gender officially female, or is that up to us? Solaris doesn't have an official personality. I'll start with that. That's sort of up to interpretation. We wanted to leave her as open for the community as possible. She has a little bit of character information, but that's just sort of as a springboard for inspiration, like the idea that she's a sun goddess. But if you buy Solaris and want her to always be just a middle manager at a retail store in your mind, that's totally fine. You go. That's your Solaris. There's no requirement to stick to any of the canon info, which is why this next question, is her gender officially female, or that's up to you? We're depicting her as a woman, but honestly, that's up to the community. It's whatever you want. And that's the idea sort of behind the project as a whole, is it's up to you and it's your decision.
Yeah, we wanted her to be.
Oh, I'm sorry, Irina.
We wanted her to be very much a virtual and instrument, and in a way, a canvas that you can make anything you want with.
The question that I was going to ask that kind of springboards off of that even further is, Edward asks, what race is Solaire supposed to depict? Is it also for us to interpret?
I'll take this question. So Solaris' voice provider is white, and so we didn't think it was right to make Solaris non-white, just because in that case that probably wouldn't be right when her voice provider is white. But it's up to everybody else, like, how they want to depict her. Solaris' race is no more canon than Solaris' gender or Solaris being a goddess. So on that case, it's whatever you want to do.
Jordan Forrester asks, if Solaris does really well, would you consider making a Japanese voice bank for Solaris in the future?
This is actually a question we have prepared for later as well. So,
but right now, we can answer it as well.
Yeah. The short answer is we're not planning on that. We would like Solaris to be as high quality as possible. And Emerali, I also pronounce her name Raleigh. She only speaks English, and we would not want there to be any issues with pronunciation.
Yeah,
Yes, for
so the
the
short answer for now is no. We love Japanese voice banks, but right now we don't think we can make one of sufficient quality. Because AI voice banks, you would ideally be using a voicer who's fluent so that the samples are as good as possible. So right now that's not in our plans for now. Or probably forever. I don't want to accidentally sound like I'm teasing it. No, we will not be making other languages for Solaris. Gotta be careful about the things I say on this live so that I don't accidentally say that we're having something that we're not doing.
Alright, do you want me to go through a couple more chat questions that I have from earlier?
Yeah, let's just keep doing chat questions for a while, because they've really piled up.
Yeah, they have. Juango3AC3 asks, in the event that Synthesizer V AI is upgraded to a new generation after Solaris release, will Solaris upgrade as Saki AI is done? I can't speak today, I'm
None
sorry.
of us can speak.
that would entirely depend on what Dreamtonics is okay with, but we have discussed, like, in the future, like, if, like we say, add more training data, that would be distributed as a free update to people who already own Solaris.
Yeah, so that's our current plan right now. Right now, we also think that she'll probably keep being updated to each new AI generation. Honestly, we'll keep, even if we have to pay for that, we haven't had a lot of discussions of that, we'll keep paying into it just to make sure that she's as high quality as possible.
Let's see. Onirik asks, is there a chance you guys can do a giveaway or contest of some sort for Symphony Studio?
We might. We're still sort of looking at it, but we're working on it. So maybe we'll give away Symphony Studio Pro. We won't be doing any Solaires giveaways before the end of the crowdfund, obviously because we don't know if she'll be funded yet. That's also probably in the cards, but not until after her full release. So a giveaway for the editor is a possibility, but right now we're looking at our money. Edward asks, is Solaris pronounced Solaris or Solaris, or either? We've been saying Solaris for the past 2.5 years, but honestly, it's up to you. It's sort of different with every person we talk to. Everybody pronounces it differently, but that's up to anybody.
Yeah, if you look on Google, and like a name website, it is pronounced as Solaris, but we like saying Solaris.
Kind of hard to stop when you've been saying it
Exactly.
for 2.5 years.
Yeah, but it's up to you. We're not going to get mad if you pronounce it differently. Yeah, so that's your decision.
Let's see. Izzy Vitelli asks, what genres would you say Solaris would be best for?
Right now, we're hoping that she'll be good, just versatile in general. That's our overall aim. Based on Emma's voice, we'll probably say pop will be her main genre, just because that's Emma's main genre, but we're trying to also make her powerful, so we could imagine her being useful in a lot of genres, actually, because that's our goal with her. So we'll see. We can get back to you on that. We'll have more information on that, once her AI voice bank starts development.
Yeah.
Let's see. Vocosphere asks, could Solaris be available in a starter pack bundled with Synth V Studio Pro?
Right now, we don't... Sorry?
We would probably have to negotiate that with Dreamtonics. There has not been any sort of discussion like that. Currently, there are no plans to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Raw Beans P asks, what are some of her exploits?
Right now, we're still in the process of deciding what the X voice will be, of what the speaking samples that will come with Solaris, for everyone will be. Because there will be some that are, like, generic X voice. We could imagine probably counting samples, things like that. The other, talking samples that will come with her, the extra samples, will also be the ones that people buy as an extra add-on. So as part of our rewards during the crowdfund, you can choose if you buy Solaris or Solaris's physical or the Solaris Superfan tier, you can also choose to add on an extra voice line that will have Emma Rowley record basically whatever you want, obviously with some limitations, but basically whatever you want. So like some suggestions that we have for that are like, if you're an EDM producer, your producer name, if you have a specific phrase you want recorded. I know someone in the chat earlier said like they would love like a dramatic fantasy like phrase for like a song series they wanted to do or something like that. I don't know, the chat's going by very fast, but things like that you can choose to add on for yourself. So it's like you get a unique little piece of Solaris just for you. So hopefully that answers the X voice question.
Delphi P asks, how can we help promote Solaris aside from just funding her?
All right, there's a lot of ways. One, share it on social media. We are doing our best to put it out there. We don't have an advertising budget because we don't want to spend the money for Solaris development on advertising. We want to spend it on Solaris development. So we're trying to keep our crowdfund as cheap as possible so that we don't have any extra funds anywhere. It's all like everything's going to something. So it's all about if you can share it on social media. Drawing fan art has actually been very helpful for us because a lot of people don't. People have retweets muted for people, especially on Twitter, but everywhere in general, people pay more attention if you post it yourself. I guess this is just sort of like the guide, but if you could share it on social media if you want to, that is a huge help. Doing fan art is a huge help, but obviously don't stress yourself out about it. We're not like demanding that you go make fan art. We're just saying that's just something that's very helpful to us in the campaign. As well as just engaging in things like this, following us on social media helps boost our presence as well. We're doing everything that we can, so anything that you want to do to help is amazing, and thank you so much.
Izzy Vitelli asks, if Solaris does do well, would you be open to work with other potential entities, business or independent, or is it too soon to tell?
It's probably too soon to tell, but that's something we could be open to in the future. We probably want to focus on our own projects overall, to begin with. I mean, based on some of our other answers, you can imagine what that could mean. But I don't want to be vague, but nothing's for sure, so we have to focus on Solaris right now. And we also want to focus on making Solaris as good as possible. But that could be something we'd be open to in the future. It would really depend. But obviously not at all until after Solaris is released.
Let's see. Leela Lulaberry asks, does Synth V AI have good vocal fry?
Vocal fry currently is not a feature in Synthesizer V Studio. I do notice that some voice banks have, just because of the way the voicer sings, they have some vocal fry just hard ingrained into them. But other than that, it is not existent in Studio.
We are working on seeing, just as the person who makes Synth V plugins for our team, which Solaris will come with some Synth V plugins that we're making. Just, I can't tell you what they are yet because we're still waiting to see how her voice bank will come out, but that's also something that's going to come with her. Those are only usable in Synthesizer V Studio Pro, but that's just something that's also happening. But we don't talk about it very much because we're not sure what they'll be yet. But we could theoretically try and see if we could make a plugin to imitate it as much as possible. But yeah, just like Iruna said, right now there's no feature for that in Synthesizer V. But we don't know. Synthesizer V is in very active development, so we don't know. So I'm not saying that like we have secret knowledge on this. We have no idea. But it could be something that could happen down the road theoretically. But right now we have no knowledge of that. We have no idea.
I feel like this one has kind of been answered, so I'm going to kind of merge these two questions together. Vocazone asks, if Solaris is very successful, would you be willing to pursue to make more characters, especially ones similar to her in concept? And then I want to connect that to... Torin Peters asks, would you make a moon vocal, you know, because of the Eclipse theme?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, our goal right now, if we make other characters, they'll be related to Solaris's theme. That's a big if. That depends on a lot, but if we do, they would be similar to Solaris. And that's all we can say right now.
Yeah.
Yes, we cannot talk about any potential future projects until Solaris is secured.
Yeah, at least not with any certainty. Like, our official stance right now is we would love to. We love Synthesizer V. We would love to make more English voice banks for Synthesizer V. But right now, everything depends on Solaris.
Let's see. Velociraptor asks, this might be a silly question, but is it possible for people to submit demo songs for Solaris?
Right now, it really depends on our funding. So we're not going to not pay people. So like no matter what, we're paying people for demo songs. We don't want to profit off of any free work from any artists because part of our company mission is to make sure that people are treated and paid equitably. Because like we know that this is a community full of like immensely talented people and we don't want to take advantage of anybody on purpose or by accident. So it would really depend on our funding. Right now, that's not something that's in the cards for people to submit demo songs. It's something we could consider, but it would really depend on funding. Yeah.
We do have a contact form up on our website for you to submit your prices and your portfolio.
Oh yeah, if you're interested in working with the project honestly, as someone who does anything related to vocal synthesis, so like video editors, tuners, songwriters, artists, 3D artists, people who just mix, even if we don't have the money right after the crowdfund, even if it's not a demo song, we want to keep doing projects in the future, so we're saving all of the portfolio information that's sent to us, and we're keeping it for later. So we have a big database right now that has everybody's prices and contact information that anyone sends us. So we're keeping you on file. So even if we don't get back to you now, we are keeping your information for the future because we want to work a lot with a lot of the talented people in this community. So it really depends on funding right now, and we basically can't promise anything right now because we don't know how much money we're going to have at the end of crowdfund. And we're not letting anybody work on this for free. So, but if you want to work on it, we have a contact form on the website and submit it there, and it really depends on the future and our future funds.
Maiden Relish asks, how will the market price of the voice library be determined?
We'll probably try and keep it pretty similar to other vocals and other software of this type. It will depend on what those cost at the time, sort of our company position as far as funding is concerned. But we're going to try and keep it really reasonable at release. But right now it's a matter of getting to release. So we don't know, because right now we need to make sure that her crowdfund is funded. Otherwise, there will be no commercial Solaris if she's not funded. So I'm sorry that a lot of the answers are just fund Solaris. Otherwise, we have nothing for you. So I'm sorry that that's the result. But that's just the way that crowdfunding goes sometimes.
Cola asks, would you guys consider making some type of lore for Solaris when she is funded more in release?
As far as lore goes, I believe we did get into this a little bit earlier. There is some lore, such as being a sun goddess, but lore is very minimal, and if the user wants to completely go in the opposite direction, feel absolutely free to do that. So we know that she's a sun goddess, but if you don't want her to be a sun goddess, feel free.
Yeah, basically that. If there's anything, we could theoretically do lore as part of a future project, but none of it, just as Idruna just said, none of it would be compulsory, none of it is required. So maybe, but probably not, because our goal with Solaris is to keep her as open as possible for people's interpretation, and so that users can use her however they want.
Edward asks, what were some early concepts or names for the character Solaris?
All right, so this is when I shill for one of the crowdfund rewards, right? So
yeah.
So we are not going to tell you that, because part of the crowdfund is one of the add-on rewards. So one of the rewards that you get to add on to any tier is the production diary. What goes in the production diary is basically all of our planning chat. Anything that is not bound by non-disclosure agreement is going in the production diary. So you'll get to see, and the concept art PDF is part of just the base thing that goes to everybody, but the production diary has an explanation of every concept art, every draft for the concept art. It has all of our planning, everything is in the production diary. So while we're not going to tell you that now, and there's a huge funny story about a lot of the early names that we had for Solaris. So but that will all be sort of hidden away in the production diary, just because we wanted just a chance to tell the whole story all together, and we thought that was the best way to do it. So that's an add-on reward in the crowdfund. So for people who are really interested in that, we just really urge you to go ahead and pick up that reward. Sorry that I can't give you a further answer right now, but a lot of Solaris' history
Very
is
intriguing answer, though.
There is a very funny story that I think you would be interested to find out. So if you're interested at all, please consider checking out the production diary.
Yeehaw. Let's see. Lulaberry asks, would she be okay for a Talkwood? I think this is, sorry, I'm just trying to, understand what your question is. I believe that they're asking if Solaris would be able to, do Talkwood stuff, in the theme of, musicals, or, with a more musical tone.
I mean, yeah, it really... Oh, sorry, you don't know. Actually, yeah, you're the expert on this.
Yeah, I guess I'm the Talkloid guy here. I have used Synthvi a lot for Talkloids. Synthvi is probably one of the easiest programs for me to work with in terms of adjusting the pronunciation, fine-tuning the pitch. So, in my opinion, and I have done a lot of Talkloids with Synthvi, it works very well.
And yeah, you'd be allowed. If the question was if you'd be allowed, yeah. You can use Solaris for whatever you want. If you buy Solaris, you can use Solaris however you want. That's basically the Solaris license.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Digital Static asks, will she have breath samples?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 And yes. We don't know how many we'll get to record, since that is kind of an awkward thing to ask your voice provider to record. But yes, she'll have breath samples. We're aiming for at least 5.
Sakai Goe asks, will Solaires have extra phonemes?
Probably not.
Not that we
Just
know
by
of.
nature of the way that AI works in Synthesizer V, she will probably not have extra phoneme. It's something we could look into, but probably not.
Let's see. Raw Beans P asks, do you plan on selling any Solaris merch after her launch?
The
Maybe.
current merch that we have will be exclusive to the crowdfund, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to make different merch.
Yeah, let me clarify on that. The guest artist rewards are exclusive to the crowdfund. So the button by Ed Link Lover, the acrylic charm by Miss Sapphire, and the acrylic charm by Stay Saki, which we're revealing at the end of the live stream, so stick around. And the t-shirt and tote bag are all exclusive to this. We may sell the acrylic stand again later. We will probably not sell the button badge with her official art on it again later. So we may still sell the acrylic stand later, but everything else, including the Solaris team stickers, is exclusive to the crowdfund only. So if you want that merchandise, get it from the crowdfund. If not, we may do more merch later, but it really depends on our funding and our money.
Yeah.
Because, you have to pay artists, you have to manufacture the merch. We'll have to see if we want to do pre-orders only or keep stock on the website, things like that.
Robin's P also asked, does Solaris have a pet? And I'm sorry, I realized I started to cut you off there, so feel free to answer after the fact.
She does not. She does not have a
She
pet.
doesn't have a pet.
No.
That's here. If you want to
give Solaris a pet, feel free. I've already seen some really interesting headcanons on Twitter about that, so.
I was gonna say, if you give her a pet, please tag me.
Yeah.
I do, just personally like to imagine her having a bird because, the day that we revealed Solaris, I discovered baby birds in my stove vent.
Oh my god, that's right.
A lot of weird, funny coincidences have happened during this whole project. A lot of those have been my Wi-Fi going down. I'm on this call from my phone right now. During every important event, my Wi-Fi goes down right before the big Solaris thing, so.
I've noticed the sequence of questions from, how do you pronounce this, Leo for 1000. Do you have an estimate of what her vocal range will be? Will she have a falsetto pitch or just standard? Will she have auto-tuning features? Will her breath samples be WAV files or are programmed into the voice bank? And will she be compatible with tone shift? There's a lot of things here. I'll just go down the list. We don't have an estimate of what the vocal range will be. That depends on how much training data we can use in her voice bank. You cannot add falsetto pitches to an AI voice bank, so she will not have one. Auto-tuning features and tone shift are inherently given with an AI voice bank, so she will have those. As for breath samples, I'm honestly not sure on this one, but we will be providing WAV files.
Yeah, we'll be providing WAV files, and if there's a way in an AI voice bank to program a breath sample in, we'll get it in there. I also want to clarify on the vocal range, we're going to try and get as close to her voicer's vocal range as possible. Her voicer, so if you want to get an idea of what her range could be, if you want to head over to Emma Rowley's channel and listen to some of her singing, you'll have a great time because her voice is excellent, and you'll also get a good idea of what Solaris will probably be able to handle in the end.
Cool. Do you want me to? I only have a couple more chat questions. Do we want to just finish out those?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Let's get them out.
Yeah, there's actually not that many left. We finally have kind of gotten through the list. Izzy Vitelli asks, in the interest of helping promote the crowdfund, would you be interested in working with sources such as Vocosphere or Vocodeals in some way, like an interview?
Yeah. If any news outlets want to set up an interview, just DM the Eclipse Sounds Twitter account or send us a contact request on the website, or any private message feature, just so we can go back and forth without filling up everyone's timelines. Yeah, just feel free. I'm the social media manager, so you'll be talking to me. I guess you could just DM me, but probably DM the Eclipse Sounds account to be safe. Yeah, actually, don't DM me. DM the Eclipse Sounds account. I was kidding.
Yeah, pretty much all communication should be done through like an official company outlet if you can.
Yeah, and the links for all of our social media accounts are on our website as well, so you can be sure who you're talking to. Yeah, but just reach out, and we'd be interested in doing interviews. Yeah, anything anyone wants to do, we'll make time. Just reach out.
Yeah. A very quick interjection. With 99 backers, we have hit 15,000.
Exactly
We just
15,000.
hit it.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we're at 99
We
backers
can do
with
it.
exactly 15,000.
Thank you all.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
everyone.
37%.
The super merch bundle supporter to give us that 65. Thank you guys so much. Oh my gosh. This is crazy.
Yeah, thank you all so much for your support. This is huge for us. This is huge for Solaris.
This is
and,
huge for the community.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
No.
I don't want to.
Oh, fine.
Thank you,
This has
But-
never been done before. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, I guess it hasn't in an English language. So. But we're really grateful, and thank you so much. If I know that we've probably missed some questions because the chat has been going by very fast. If you didn't get your question answered, obviously, I said this earlier, but a lot more people are here now. So if you want to just keep sending your question over and over, we will get it. So if you didn't get it answered or you missed the answer, we will answer you again.
Great. Oniric asks, what are some questions you guys are surprised that people haven't asked, if any?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
At the beginning of this, I was surprised no one had asked about lore, or just because of her art and like her full art. I was surprised that no one had asked about lore or about like what it has to be canon and like what people are allowed to change. But I guess that question has been asked now. So right
Yeah.
now,
Nothing that I could think of.
Nobody asked about what she's standing on.
I mean, our answer would be, we don't know. It's cool though, isn't it?
It looks cool.
I know Solaire was like, here you guys go, and we're like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, honestly, Superstellar, just wonderful to work with. Highly recommend.
Let's see. Robins P asks, what are your favorite moments in getting Solaris to the public?
Absolutely the first reveal when people first found out about her and watching the post get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
that was crazy. I stayed up on pure adrenaline for the first 2 hours since we launched her at midnight.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep at all that first week. That was crazy.
Really quick, I'm seeing this in the chat. The thing that she's actually standing on is a sundial.
Yeah, I think I remember Superstellar told us it was a sundial.
So it's a big,
Yes.
fancy looking sundial in space because she is very cool and very excellent.
Yeah, sorry, I was joking when I said we didn't know.
Oh. I just
I'm so
took it
sorry.
at face value. I was like, I thought Superstellar said it was a sundial.
I'm so sorry. I didn't
No.
know. Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to throw us off there.
Alex Teal asks, how hard is it to program Solaris or a synthbee in general?
I will
We can't talk
say
about that. Can't talk about
we
that at all.
cannot talk about.
Yeah.
No, we are under non-disclosure agreement. We cannot talk about that in any capacity. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Cool. Leol FR 1000 asks, oh, random question. With the intonation of her current bank, do you think she'd be good at pronunciation for other languages? For example, how Chiyu is scary good at Japanese.
I have absolutely
Um,
no idea.
Yeah, we don't know, but I can talk a little bit about like the personal project that I've been working on for maybe Solaris' release. Is that I've been working on and trying to see if we can make plugins that make other languages a little bit easier. So those may or may not come with her voice bank. But right now we have no idea how her voice bank's going to turn out with other languages. And she's only intended for English, so huge disclaimer, if you want to use her for other languages, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, though Synthesizer V does make it a bit easier from what I've
That's true.
understood, especially with user dictionaries. For example, I think anyone who's familiar with my content knows that I use Mocha. If I want to make Mocha sing in Japanese, I have to manually edit every single note, but for Synth V, I can just create a user dictionary and it will automatically read it.
For anyone who doesn't know, we're trying not to talk about Vocaloid a lot, because this is about Solaris, but Mocha is a Chinese Vocaloid, and that's who Iduna is talking about.
Now back to Synth V.
Yeah, now back to Solaris in specific.
Robbins P asks, can her standard bank be a stretch goal for the crowdfund?
It could be, if everyone really wanted one. We could add it as a future stretch goal past her current stretch goal, which is just more training data to make her higher quality.
Yes. It depends on demand, but do know that it will be very expensive. It will be a large additional cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially it would be, I can say this probably, it would probably be double the current crowdfund goal to make 2 voice banks. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. So we would need twice as much money to make 2 voice banks. So probably no standard, unless we got a lot of support for a stretch goal.
Let's see. Estranton V asks, if Solaris went well, would we have Lunaris? Which is kind of in the vein of like a second vocalist, which it kind of ties back into, if we fund Solaris, we'll have a lot more opportunity to do other things. So TLDR, fund Solaris.
Yeah, we need to focus on Solaris right now, but if Solaris goes well, we could make another vocalist who would have a similar theme to Solaris, and that's all we can say.
Yes, all future projects will be tangent on how well Solaris does.
Yeah.
I actually think that's all of the chat questions.
Okay.
I think somebody asked, does she levitate when she walks?
Oh,
if you want her to.
If you want her to.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, it's up to you.
She can do whatever.
I guess now would be a good time to get into that quote-unquote intermission that we planned.
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and get into that. So just right now, just take a little break from all the questions that we've been answering, and obviously just type this in the chat and we'll move on, but if you want to keep responding to this, feel free, and we'll look at the chat later. But we have a couple questions for supporters. We want to be really responsive as a company to the community's needs and hopes for the Solaris project. So we have 2 questions for you. So if you could type your answers in the chat. We probably won't be responding to your answers because there have been so many questions to get through and we still have more. But if you could send your answers to these in the chat, and we will look at them later and try and be accommodating to it. So one of our questions is, are there any tiers or rewards that you would like to see added to the campaign? So is there another tier that we have that it's like, wow, I wish this was a campaign reward? Is there anything that we could add for you? We don't have a lot of extra funding, so we can't, like, if someone were to ask, like, can you add more charms? It's like, we can't, we don't really have the money to do that. But if there's, like, another campaign reward that you really want to see, please just, like, let us know, and we can see what we can do about it. Because we can keep adding more rewards to the crowdfund, so we can add more tiers if you want. So just let us know. And that's that for that. And is there any other content you'd like to see us posting over the course of the campaign? So, like, right now you can see if we're seeing, you can see we've posted a few samples with her voice. We'll be posting a few more with the standard test voice bank. But is there anything else that you want to see us do? I'll give that a second. But then our next thing will be we'll go into Q&A part 2. Actually, let's do some more from the chat right now. Neve, do you have any?
We have gotten a few in this time.
In just a couple like the minute that's gone by. Anthony is gloomy asks, how often does Solaris dye the ends of her hair, or is it permanent or all natural?
Basically, you decide. In my opinion, it's natural. It might even glow a bit, but you decide. I can't speak for the rest of Eclipse either. Even we all have our own different interpretations of her.
I haven't even thought of that. Her hair glows. That's so cool.
It's really interesting to see, I guess just like from my perspective, because I kind of have like, we've all been there the whole way, but like since I kind of led the design effort a little bit, it's kind of really interesting to see how everyone has been interpreting her design, especially when it comes to her hair. Because I've seen a couple people do like an ombre from the brown to the orange, and then I've seen some people do just the underneath, and it's really cool, and man, I'm just so happy to see everyone like having their own interpretations. I feel like I keep saying the same thing, but it's just really awesome. So thank you, everyone who's been drawing fan art. Oh, let's see. Next one. Mura128 asks, is there a genre she's intended for, like Broadway or pop rock?
One of our goals was to make a versatile singer who can apply to many genres, but her voicer, Emma Rowley, mainly does pop, so primarily we think she will be a pop vocal.
But with the features in Synthesizer V and like the nature of its parameters and the things that you can adjust with the voice, we think that, especially as an AI vocal, she'll probably be pretty versatile.
Let's see. Alex Teal asks, what about an AI voice talk bank for Solaris?
It would really depend on our funding after the crowdfund, after her release. There are no plans right now to make a talking synthesizer for Solaris. It's something we could consider if people really wanted it, but right now there are no plans.
Izzy Vitelli asks, if you don't make the stretch goal but her AI sells well, will you still consider doing a standard bank?
Yeah, I guess it's something we could consider if people really wanted it and we had the funds later. We would prefer to just focus on making AI voice banks. But if it was something that people really wanted, we could definitely consider doing a standard voice bank after Solaris is released.
Let's see. I'm trying to like parse through the comments about the questions and also actual questions. One sec. Yeah, Vocosphere, for your comment that you want more videos with Emma Rowley sharing her thoughts of vocal synth, she talks quite extensively in the interview about she really went off on what she thinks about vocal synth. So I think that a lot of questions that people have about her as a voicer will be answered with that interview.
And that's on the 29th. And we'll post it on YouTube, and a short version on Twitter, and a short version on TikTok and Instagram.
Robin's
and a transcript.
And we also are including a transcript for the interview as well. Robin's P asks, how involved in the process was Emma Rowley?
I'm gonna say Emma was minimally involved. So Emma, we got her feedback a lot throughout the process, but we tried not to put any more work on her than we already were. We will say though, she re-recorded the standard voice bank 6 times. Just for fun. She just kept sending us more.
She's extremely enthusiastic.
Yeah, so she's been fantastic to work with.
All right, and I think that with that, we are caught up with questions from the chat.
Yeah, I think it's 10:30. It's been an hour and a half, so we should move on to the Q&A part 2.
It's true. We should. And we shall.
Not to keep you here
Q&A
forever.
Part 2. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm on a bit of a delay from everybody else, I think.
Oh no.
Okay, so Q&A Part 2. We've talked about this a little bit, but I'll just go over this really quick. Say Lice on Twitter asked, could we have more information about her character, like age, weight, and things like that? So Solaris is an adult. We don't have any more information on her age regarding that, but Solaris is intended to be an adult vocal, and that's mostly to preserve creative freedom. So Solaris is an adult, and you can take that as you will. And like the idea is like she's an adult regardless. So like she's an adult as a goddess, she's an adult goddess. As a human, she's an adult human. That's basically part of her only canon information.
I don't have an exact age, like she could be 20, she could be 30, she could be 5,000, it all depends on what you think, but she is an adult.
Yeah, and that's
really
our
quick-
intention. If you want to make something where Solaris is a teen, go ahead. Like, that's on you. Like, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But the idea is that canonly, as far as canon goes, she's an adult.
Yeah, and just something to add on really quick. I saw this question in the chat a little bit. If you're curious on what exactly each tier in the crowdfund, like what exactly it contains, if you go to the crowdfund page, you can click on the perks and it will give you a fully tabbed list of everything that tier contains. So it's all right there for you if you have any questions. And I will post our crowdfund page. So if you want to take a look at the tiers and you haven't, and or maybe you're forgetting, there you go.
Yeah, other canon information for Solaris. We don't have a canon weight, so just assume whatever you want. And we don't have a canon height either, but we like to think, just as a team, that Solaris is probably taller than average. The average would really depend on your interpretation of her. But yeah, it's up to you. We could, if people really wanted us to, make canon information for this, but really we want to make it as user determined as possible. Yeah, I'll just move on with the rest of this section actually. Vocosphere on Twitter asked if Solaris needs to eat and if she has a favorite food.
We don't
I'm gonna
know.
say, what?
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. That's up to you. I hate to keep harping on the idea that like the canon information is up to you, but it is. Like, we don't want anyone to be really bound to a lot of specific information with Solaris.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I hadn't even considered a favorite food.
yeah, suns eat what? Chemicals?
Hydrogen. I think we've already answered the question on why the sun theme. This was a pre-written question, but just to sort of go over it again, we had our name as a company, Eclipse Sounds, first, and we accidentally worked backwards from there. Eclipse Sounds did some merchandise before, back in 2016, but that ended by the end of 2017. And so we started from there and worked backwards. And the sun, we just felt worked, we looked at an Eclipse and we were like, well, the sun just works better for our voicer, Emma Rowley's voice. So we went with the sun. And then Vocosphere on Twitter asks, actually, someone else should take this question. I don't want to go over it.
Will Solaris get a backstory, or will she be completely free for user interpretation?
I guess we already answered this just a second ago.
Yeah, we kind of did.
To say it again, she's not really going to get a backstory unless it's like for some event later down the line, and even then it's kind of, I would say, like a soft canon in that like she still is completely up for user interpretation. So
Yeah, she will not have any sort of official backstory. I have like come up with some ideas just in my own personal work for how she fits into everything, but as far as official content goes, no backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like as far as backstory is concerned, it's all headcanon.
Leela Lulaberry asks, is 18 plus content okay with Solaris? And along those lines, gore or violence, etc., what are the limits?
Yes. You can do...
She's your instrument, she's your canvas, do whatever you want, go wild.
Yeah.
We will say though, we won't be retweeting or reposting 18 plus or gore content on the Twitter. Just because we want to make sure that the company Twitter is completely safe for people of all ages. But you're allowed to do whatever you want with Solaires.
You can make it, we just won't be sharing it on official pages.
Astrianton V asks, with the parameters in Synth V, can you make her sound more powerful like a power append?
Synth
Yes.
does have tension, which is a very impressive parameter that I use very frequently. We will say that it is much easier to make a powerful vocal softer than to make a soft vocal powerful, so we will be trying to prioritize power over soft in the full voice bank just because it's easier to go back than forward, but you can use tension and other parameters to make her sound more powerful.
Yeah, Synth V is, in our opinion, very good about that. So as long as she's at least sort of a neutral vocal, you can get some more power out of her using a combination of voicing, tension, and volume. Thank you so much for that question. And thank you all for all these questions, I should say.
Yeah.
I'll just go on to one of the pre-written questions right now that we got from Twitter earlier. So Haru0L on Twitter asked, how did Solaris come to be? And for this, again, I'm just going to point you over to the entire story is in the production diary, which is one of the add-on rewards for the crowdfund. Please consider that. And that is where the story is, and we will move on from there.
Now,
sorry that we can't answer that.
Yeah. Now we will be talking about future plans for Eclipse sounds and Solaris.
A lot of these we already answered already, but we'll answer them again, just in case anyone came later. Jade Kaiba on Twitter asked, are there any plans to create more voice banks if Solaris goes well? The answer is, it really depends on how well Solaris does. And that's what we can say about that. If we did make more voice banks, we would make them similarly themed to Solaris. And then for the next question, Iduna, I think?
Yes. We've gotten a lot of people asking, how can I be involved in the Solaris project? If you'd like to apply to create official content like demo songs, illustrations, comics, really anything, you can submit your portfolio through a form on our site. But really the best way to be involved is to share and support our crowdfund.
Sorry for that noise.
From Lear on Twitter, if Solaris became successful enough, would there be possibility to make voice banks for her in other languages? As we said earlier, we're not planning on it. We want her to be as high quality as possible, and Emma Rowley does not speak any other languages, so we do not want to have any issues with pronunciation.
Especially given the nature of AI vocals,
Yes.
You would really want to have a voicer that's fluent.
Yes.
Vocosphere on Twitter asked, after her song bank is complete, do you think that Solaris could someday get an AI talk bank as well? We answered this a little bit earlier, but we'll go over it again. It's definitely a possibility. It really depends on what people want and how well Solaris does. Sorry that a lot of our answers are, it depends on how well Solaris does, but I'm sure you all understand the nature of being a small company.
Also from Vocosphere, if Solaris gets an official 3D model, could live concert performances be a thing in the future? It's an interesting idea, but concerts are extremely costly. We are not a very well-resourced company, we're very small, so we doubt we'd ever have the resources to do something like that. we're going to focus on the voice bank first and foremost.
I have some more chat questions. Aria Songriddle asks, what do you think of Sunny's as a prototype fan nickname? I think that's really cute.
I think
It's
that's
so cute.
Also, the whole Hydrogen Sunday thing, love that. Robin's P asks, would you be open to doing what AHS wants to do and hire native speakers of other languages to make different language banks for Solaris?
I'm gonna tentatively say probably a no on this one. We don't really have the resources or the knowledge set to really look at making more languages.
Yeah,
so we're
we
really
are-
going to focus on English synthesizer V vocals.
We are primarily an English company. That would probably be a lot of resources, negotiation, a lot of effort. So unless there was like completely phenomenal overseas support for Solaris and a lot of demand in that area, we probably would not pursue it.
We're sort of at the end of our pre-written questions, so if anyone has questions that aren't answered yet, feel free to drop them in the chat now, or if you have any more questions, we'll wait a little bit. But for right now, I'll sort of do our closing remarks, then we'll answer more questions, and then we will do the final thing, which is reveal the final guest artist reward. But first off, if you like Solaris and want to see her happen, please donate to the campaign. Any little bit is appreciated, but if you want to see Solaris happen, the best way to make that happen is to donate. If you've already donated, if you can't donate right now, thank you so much for your support, and there are some other ways to help, like we talked about earlier when someone asked about it. Fan art is actually really helpful. Also, as a mini announcement, we're doing the fan art spotlight in the next stream. So we'll be pulling up all the fan art and talking about it and how happy we are about it, and because that's been one of the most exciting thing. That's been one of the most exciting things about this entire project. So we want to give a lot of spotlight to all of the wonderful creators who have worked on stuff like that. One of the other ways to help would be to share the campaign. If you link it on social media, there's a share link on Indiegogo. That also helps our numbers and helps boost the campaign more that it's shared on social media. If you follow our accounts, especially if you follow us on TikTok, because we actually do have a lot more coming up there. We have a whole special business plan just for TikTok. So if you have that, if you use TikTok, you should probably hop on over there and follow us there. But if you follow our accounts, if you retweet everything about Solaris, if you reblog it, your support is everything to this project, and those are just other ways that you can support it. We're very, very thankful, and thank you so much for all of the support so far. Right now we'll go over the last bit of chat questions, and then the charm. So, Neef, do we have any more chat questions?
I don't believe so. Oh, Alex Teal asks, how do you feel about doing your own synth?
Honestly, we don't really see Solaris as belonging to us. We sort of want Solaris to belong to the community. So, like, I guess, how do we feel about working on Solaris is, I mean, honestly, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that it's been one of the most rewarding experiences that we have ever had.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
so
much.
surreal. I don't think any of us ever expected to get to this point.
Here
Yeah,
we
but
are.
we just kept working, I guess.
And I think other than that, I think that is all of the questions. I did post her official tag in the chat, which is #Synthv_Solaris. I try to look for fan art pretty constantly, but there are a couple other fandoms that also have a character or like something with the name Solaris, so it's a lot easier for us to find anything you guys do with that tag. Or like if you at our account or like send it to us on Twitter. I try to scan pretty frequently, but sometimes I have missed fan art, so if you want us to see it, show us.
Yeah, please send it to the tag. Thank you.
If you don't want us to see it, why? Please show us.
First
We
of
wanna
all,
see it.
why?
Thank you so much for your support. All right.
So I guess, are we
I
to
think-
the charm reveal now?
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's.
Okay. There she is.
This charm was illustrated by Stay Saki, who's Stay Saki on Twitter and Stay Saki on Instagram. You can, search Stay Saki on Twitter to see more of their work. We were really thankful and grateful to work with them, and this charm is extremely cute. So I hope you like it a lot. You can see this charm is exclusive to the crowdfund, just like all of the guest artist rewards. So if you want it, the only way to get it is by supporting the crowdfund. So please do so.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for all the
Yeah,
support.
Thank you, everyone.
everybody. If you have any
Yeah,
other
thank you so much for your support of the
questions,
Solaires project. It means a lot, and we'll keep working hard to show you more of Solaris and bring you more promotions and to do our best to get this funded. So thank you all for your support, and good night or good morning,
Night,
depending
everyone.
on where you are.
Goodbye.